All right, it does seem like we are struggling a little bit with that connection to Samgelo. We'll try and bring him back to you. But Mzwai, let's come back to some of the priorities that they declared in 2019. Crime.
Yeah.
They called it a national priority. Yet when we look at the crime stats, does it look like it was a priority enough? The allocation of resources, again, we saw it in the budget speech. But when you look over the years, does it seem like it was an issue that was of national importance?
You know, I don't know how the governing party perhaps looks at or in terms of the policies that it has, which, by the way, many people say they're very, very good. I don't know what then lacks in terms of implementing. So when you look at the strategies and the policies that are in place to deal with those matters, so they are there and they look good, but it's at the point of implementation and execution where the difficulty is. I mean, crime, in fact, in South Africa, the reason why you form a political party, because it's so easy to know what people want. We want the end to crime and corruption. We want jobs. We want our economy to grow so that we are able to obviously grow even bigger. So the difficulty they had was that which they had promised was not really achieved. Yes, there were some ways where they made a little bit of progress, but not progress enough in terms of bringing the confidence. As they come and reconvene here at Moses Mabhida, I think that will be another issue really that they will speak about, because upon reflection, you would say, we said crime will be part of the main priorities, but we haven't done enough. So what do we do about it? Because South Africans need to feel safe. Everyone needs to feel safe. So if then you are to grow the economy, if you are to bring the stability, you need to be able to have crime under control. So if currently, I was listening to the stats of the minister this past week, quite shocking. I think something drastic needs to be done. And so clearly on that front, they need to do better, and they know it.
And Mzwai, you talk about the stats that were quite shocking. The fact that Inanda police station, again, back in the top 10, and you are in a province like KwaZulu-Natal, and you are hearing from people who are telling you that, they still have an issue, but you are still even struggling with the dynamic, Mzwai, of political killings as well, because that is also a reality in this province.
Well, we just hope this contestation will not lead to that kind of situation. We have seen, quite commendably, by the way, tolerance in the build-up. I think one of the biggest fears was the MK ANC, given that they're fishing from the same pond. But for now, it looks generally peaceful. They're very tolerant towards each other. And I think if that were to continue across all parties, perhaps as a democracy that is now 30 years old, it may show some maturity. So that is another area that I think we need to look at. But here is the problem around the political killings, Bungi. It tends to be what you call, intra-party politics, because people are eliminating each other so that they are able to have access to resources. So that is the other area that I think the governing party and of course the government at large must look at, because it's pointless when you see the councillors with a number of bodyguards, and you can't say, why are you going around with bodyguards? Because he or she will be eliminated. Why? The access to resources. We have, I think as a country, we have to strengthen the crime intelligence, and that's why if the governing party promises anything about doing something on crime and corruption, that is one area they need to look deeper into.
You agree, Doc?
Oh, absolutely. Crime is a serious problem, and this holds us back from achieving many of the objectives. And I certainly want to also comment on the issue of, this political assassinations, because it's become a serious problem. This idea that you can remove someone from, their post because you need to have that job. And this is because we have our unemployment levels are so incredibly high that people are seeing, killing somebody else as a way to actually seek employment or get employment. So crime is a major issue. Political assassinations in KZN most definitely. So these are all the things that the government has to actually, and the ANC has to make sure that it deals with in order to deal with, in fact, the confidence levels of the general population of South Africa is very low at the moment. It needs to make sure that it brings up those confidence levels, makes people feel safe in this country so that they feel confident to vote for the ruling party again.
Doctor, you mentioned something very important about the confidence levels and how, a number of South Africans would be faced with quite a lot of challenges. You think about the rising cost of living, the price of the fuel. You also think about the fact that there's now, again, unemployment going up in the country, and a lot of people are still stuck with stagnant salaries that are not going up. So what does the ANC then say to these people who are gathered here and those supporters who will be watching in order then to change the tone of that as part of its promises?
So I think that it needs to actually, articulate some very real plans that it has, not just simply, sentiments to make people feel good about the situation. They need to say these are actual substantial plans that we have in place, and this is how we're going to implement it. In terms of increasing, for example, the capacity to create jobs, what plans do they have in place? How to bring about security? What are they going to do to deal with crime? The Minister of Police, talks about increasing the number of police officers to deal with it. But are they sufficiently trained, for example? Are they in the areas that they are required to be in? Are the police stations sufficiently capacitated to deal with, and so they need to speak to very real issues on the ground to say, in this area and in this specific context, this is what we're going to do, and enumerate them, and so that we can see, okay, they have thought through these things very seriously, and it's not just some grand dream that they're presenting to us, but very real, plans with actual substantial ways in which they're going to achieve them.
And speaking about very real, a short while ago we saw the visuals, Mzwai, of former President Kgalema Motlanthe, and this is a man tasked right now with the reality of ensuring that list process continues as smoothly as possible, but the caliber as well of the people that the ANC then puts on that list for him becomes a priority.
Absolutely, and it's very interesting that we obviously have seen some of those who have been nominated but decline, and then that makes it even more interesting. Well, I think I remember Dr. Mzwandile Mbeje, she basically said, well, she's not available to serve, and the Youth League leader as well. I actually even saw the reports relating to Dr. Naledi Pandor, who is being viewed at the moment as the star performer, given the international stature that she has elevated South Africa to, which obviously with the issue around the International Court of Justice and the role that South Africa has really been playing. So, but he has his work cut out for him. In fact, going back to your interview that you did with Mavuswa Msimang, one of the things that he said, Mr. Msimang, was that he is actually looking at people who will be part of that list. And then he said, should he see the people who were implicated in the state capture, he probably could change his mind. Remember, he left, he came back, and then he said the agreement with the Secretary General was not everyone or anyone implicated, so won't be part of the list. So it will be very interesting as former Deputy President of the ANC, Kgalema Motlanthe, goes through this, what exactly would be the caliber and the kind of people that will be there. And once it's all out, how it will resonate with those who already have reservations. As I've said, the reason Dr. Msimang stayed because he was promised that some of the people implicated in state capture-related corruption won't be there.
And Mzwai, also staying with that particular point, because one of the things that also becomes very critical is the fact that if you are then going to be looking at this list, a lot of people are still saying, but what is happening to the processes of the Integrity Commission? And then because there was some kind of, as some saw it as a reconfiguration of the Integrity Commission, and where are we then in terms of some of those people that need to appear before it, that need to account before this process is finalized?
Obviously, it's an ongoing process. Some have been appearing. Remember, some of the reports don't have to be shared with us. And it will be at the discretion of the NEC once it has gone through it to see what is it that is able to accept or not accept. Or others, obviously, they would have allegations. And they'll be able to prove them that perhaps they are wrong. And I'm sure for the ANC it becomes easier than to clear those people. But I think when all is said and done, so the ANC, as the doc said, they needs to be able to bring the confidence to the people of South Africa that the kind of people that it will put on that list are the people who are fit for purpose in terms of delivering on the mandate of what South Africans want. I mean, we have said it. It's very simple what South Africans want. They want jobs. They want service delivery. They want load shedding to end.
And we're still going to talk about the issue of load shedding because it's quite a huge one and it's going to be a very big talking point here during the elections. But Doc, before we head back to base, but we saw just a short while ago now visuals, the Deputy Minister of Social Development, that's Henrietta Zulu, and a lot of people looking to see then if the basic income grant would ever come into play, because they look at this SRD grant and say that 350 Rand, while some say they appreciate it, but a lot of economists are saying, what do you then do as a sustainable measure going forward?
Yes, the discussion for the basic income grant has been going on for a long time, and people are looking to the government to actually conclude it and to make sure that it actually, comes into existence. What are we going to sort of accomplish in terms of the bigger picture? But basically, the SRD grants have been offered as a way to kind of appease people to some degree, to make them feel like, we are trying to do something for you. 350 Rand is really very little. Although the president has spoken in SONA saying that that amount was used by some people to, for example, improve their lives, to try and get jobs and so on. But again, the basic income grant debate has to be settled, and it has to actually be concretized, because we need to ensure that we offer, the South African population something substantial. What they actually need are jobs. They don't need handouts. This issue of constantly giving out handouts to try and make sure that people are able to survive. People need employment. They need dignity so that they can earn their own income, and that is how you grow an economy. You create a bigger tax base. So just giving handouts and carrying on in this fashion is not going to achieve very much. So the government needs to look at creating jobs, but the basic income grant is an important thing because it's about a living wage and how you basically ensure that people can actually get something that they can sustain themselves with and earn an income.
And when we come back, I'd like us to continue touching on that, Mzwai, because as the doc is talking there, I'm thinking back to a question that you put to the president to say, should we be proud as a country to be adding so many millions of people on social grants? But we'll pick up on that conversation when we continue with our discussion here at Moses Mabhida Stadium. We are, of course, still waiting for the official program to start, looking at how things are going right now. Supporters are still streaming in, and we are awaiting to see then what time the official program does kick off. You can expect, through some of the drafts that we've seen, that there will be amabuto as well. There will be that address by ANC President Cyril Ramaphosa, messages of support also from the alliances as well. We also are expecting the ANC chair in the province, Siboniso Duma, to also welcome, these many supporters who are gathered here to the stadium. But that was, for now, our conversation here at the Moses Mabhida Stadium. Dr. Lubna Nadvi, Senior Lecturer in Political Science and International Relations at UKZN, and our very own Mzwandile Mbeje.